Omar calls for foreign policy reset. Wants to engage in May 27, Washington, U.S. Republic. Ilhan Omar, the Somali-born Minnesota Democrat, saying she brings the perspective of a foreigner to her new role, believes that American foreign policy needs to be changed in fundamental ways. When I think about foreign policy, we need something equivalent to the Green New Deal, Omar said in an interview, drawing a parallel to the sweeping climate change plan from New York Republic. Alexandria, from her seat on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and with a growing international reputation, the former refugee is wading into debates over various global hotspots and controversies: turmoil in Venezuela, a brutal penal code in Brunei, U.S. tensions with Iran. Already accustomed, it's important for me to think about what an overhaul of our foreign policy should look like from the standpoint of really thinking how it impacts those around the world, and where our values intersect with what's happening, Omar said. We spend a lot of money. Earlier this month, Vice President Mike Pence said in a Fox News interview that Omar doesn't know what she's talking about following her criticism of the administration's hawkish stance on Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. That echoed similar, as she works to make her own imprint on U.S. foreign policy, Omar may have to forge common purpose with some of the same domestic political adversaries with whom she previously sparred. Relative to domestic policy issues, foreign policy tends to be an area where there is bipartisanship, said Colin McElhinney, Associate Director of the Congressional and Government Affairs Team at the Nonpartisan Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington. A test of that is shaping up with a House bill Omar proposed this month. Omar's legislation would bar any official of the Muslim-majority Southeast Asian nation who's responsible for implementing the penal code from traveling to or doing business with the United States. I think it was important. Another congressional critic of Brunei's code, which was implemented by the country's sultan, is Senior Ted Cruz. Cruz has been publicly critical of Omar, calling her a member of the anti-Semitic left on Twitter recently. Asked if she could, the sort of perspective and lens that I have is very much different than the perspective and lens that drives someone like Ted Cruz. I don't think Cruz's office provided this statement from a spokesman. One of the things you learn when you spend more than a few months in Congress is that very often people do the same things for different reasons. Senior John Sifton is the Asia Advocacy Director for Human Rights Watch, a New York City-based non-governmental organization that researches and advocates for human rights around the world. He's been working with. Here we have a situation where Ilhan Omar and Ted Cruz agree on something, Sifton said. This should be a reason. There's nothing new about members of Congress engaging in world affairs. But like anything in it, Pence and Trump have both called for Omar to be removed from the Foreign Affairs Committee, which has become a rallying cry for her critics. A group of New York. For me, this has nothing to do with Omar's religion, it has nothing to do with her race, it has nothing to do with her country of origin. It's all about the Foreign Affairs Chairman, Republic. Elliot Engel of Engel's office did not respond to a request for an interview. Omar remains on. Last week, she signed on as co-sponsor of a measure from House Democrats to clarify that Congress has not provided authorization for the use of military force against Iran, a response to U.S.-Iran tensions which have heightened in recent weeks. There really isn't a gain in entering another unwinnable war that will destabilize the Middle East and will become a burden for us here economically, and will further lead to not only deaths of American soldiers and deaths for Iranians, Omar said in her interview. She also discussed her views on Venezuela, following previous remarks in which she characterized the U.S. backing of opposition leader Juan Guaido. The recognition of who should be the president of a country should always be reserved for the people of that country, Omar said. Regardless of as Omar considers how a Green New Deal-style approach might be brought to reshaping U.S. foreign policy, she leans on her own background. The first Somalia, our focus should be on diplomacy, in cultural and economic exchange, Omar said. I think we are seeing. Patrick Condon 0202-662-7452 See 2019 The Star Tribune Minneapolis. Visit the Star Tribune Minneapolis at www.startribune.com. Distributed by Tribune Content Agency, LLC.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park, pot.